Well, currently, dozens of distraught Israeli families are scrambling for information of missing loved ones taken hostage. A senior Hamas official says the militant group is holding more than 100 people captive, and that figure is in addition to more than 30 people said to be held by the Palestinian Islamic Jihad militant group. During their rampage, militants dragged back into Gaza dozens of captives, among them women and children, as well as the elderly. Well, for more, let's turn to Stephen Cook. He's a senior fellow for Middle East Studies at the Council on Foreign Relations. Stephen, thanks for joining us. All of these hostages and this latest situation, it's unprecedented. How will this likely change the Israeli response in the days to come?
Well, I don't think it's going to change the Israeli response very significantly. The government has declared war on Hamas, with the strategic goal of which is the destruction of the organization and the killing or capture of its leadership. I expect there to be a very significant military operation, including ground forces. Despite the large number of hostages that have been taken, the Israeli public is demanding this kind of response. As your lead-in story indicated, the numbers of dead and wounded are absolutely unprecedented in Israeli history. This is a shock to the society, and nothing less than a full-scale invasion of the Gaza Strip is going to be tolerated by the Israeli public.
Well, that would be quite a response. But let's just talk about the security situation and how this all came about. Many critics of Israel would say that this could have been foreseen, that the response, obviously it's a militant group like Hamas, but it was a long time coming. And then obviously you've got the response from the Israeli security cluster. What does it say about the current situation with Israel in terms of security?
Well, it certainly represents a very significant intelligence failure on the part of the Israelis, a combination of complacency, political turbulence within Israel, and a focus on violence in the West Bank, and the belief that the Gaza Strip was generally relatively stable in comparison. I think critics of Israel have a point that the occupation, the 56-year occupation, the blockade of the Gaza Strip now, the dehumanization and dispossession of Palestinians absolutely contributes to a desire for redress, and often redress through violence. But it's also important to recognize that when Mohammed Deif and the leadership of Hamas talks about ending the world's longest occupation, they're not talking about ending the occupation of the West Bank or lifting the blockade of the Gaza Strip. They are talking about the occupation of Palestine, meaning that they reject Israel's existence, and that this operation was aimed at weakening Israel and ultimately trying to destroy it. As amazing as that sounds, and amazing not in a good way.
And well, that's taking it in terms of not recognizing Israel. That's a very hardline stance. Now, obviously, you've got countries external like Saudi Arabia, like Turkey, possibly Egypt, that can get involved and will then recognize Israel's legitimate claim to sovereignty. What kind of response can we expect from those countries, especially at such a delicate time diplomatically?
Well, all of those countries have been quite critical of Israel and its occupation, even since these spectacular events began on Saturday, and have called for a de-escalation. It does provide an opportunity, however, for countries like Egypt and Saudi Arabia to demonstrate their regional leadership in working towards some sort of de-escalation. But I would warn any Egyptian or Saudi official who believes that they can do this, that the Israelis in particular are in no mood for diplomacy. And they have been given and will take a significant amount of leeway in order to conduct military operations in the Gaza Strip.
Stephen, thank you so much for your insight. That's Stephen Cook, a senior fellow for Middle East Studies at the Council on Foreign Relations.